That day, when he publicly forced me to leave the house with nothing, bringing his mistress and a pregnancy report, he thought I was just a 30-year-old woman, drained, betrayed, and with nowhere to turn. He tore up the divorce agreement, froze my accounts, cut off my credit card, demanded I raise the child for his mistress, and was certain I wouldn't survive 3 days without him. But he didn't know that those 3 years of marriage had been a probation period I had meticulously set up. That night, I activated my lawyer, froze the company accounts, and withdrew all loan guarantees. Within 3 days, his cash flow collapsed. His shares were transferred, and at the return banquet, I exposed the fake pregnancy and the evidence of asset transfers, leaving him disgraced in front of all the elites. Lily slammed the pregnancy report on the coffee table in front of me. The paper scraped against the glass with a sharp screech. 12 weeks pregnant, she said, her still flat belly pushed out, chin high. Daniel says this is your gift for your 3rd wedding anniversary. I lifted my teacup. The steam from the black tea blurred my vision. The chandelier in the main living room was too bright, making the tiny black dot on the ultrasound report unusually clear, like a moldy bean. Daniel came down the stairs, ignoring me, and immediately draped his arm around Lily's shoulders. Evelyn's always been so reasonable, he said with a smile, but his eyes were fixed on me. Right? You've always had the poise of a proper wife. Lily nestled against him, fingers deliberately resting on her stomach. Daniel said, the baby will be raised by you. After all, you can't have one yourself. I set down the teacup. The ceramic clinked lightly against the glass. Raised by me? I repeated. Yeah. Daniel sat on the armchair diagonally across from me, legs casually spread. You raise the child. It can enter the family registry. Lily's young, she wouldn't know how to handle it. He said it as matter-of-factly as if he were discussing breakfast tomorrow. Lily added, the doctor said it might be a boy. Daniel said, if it's a son, he'll go on the company's board and hold dry shares. I picked up the pregnancy report. The date read, August 15, 2023. Today is September 28th. In early August, Daniel was on a 2-week business trip in Paris, and at the end of July, his anniversary gift to me was a one-way ticket to Switzerland for rest and recovery. Your health isn't good. Go clear your mind. I gently set the report back on the table and pulled a folder from my bag. Sign this. I pushed it toward Daniel. He glanced at it and laughed. Having a tantrum again? Evelyn, you're 30. Can't you act your age? Lily laughed too, the kind that hides her mouth. Eyes crescent-shaped. Daniel grabbed the agreement and tore it without even looking. 2 halves. 4 quarters. The fragments falling like white snow onto the carpet. Divorce? Who gave you the right to ask for a divorce? He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Everything you eat, wear, use, I provide it all. Without me, could you even survive 3 days? He pulled out his phone and tapped a few buttons. Starting now. Your secondary card is deactivated. I'm freezing the main one too. Hand over the car keys. The driver won't pick you up tomorrow. I quietly watched his performance. Lily egged him on. Sister, don't be stubborn. Your family's long gone. What can you even do out there? No one hires a 30-year-old waitress. I pulled out a second agreement from my bag. Daniel froze for a second, snatched it, ready to tear it up. Tear it, I said. It's a copy. The original is with my lawyer. His hand froze midair. I pulled out a third document, a thick stack. What's this? His voice faltered. An asset inventory. I opened to the first page. Over the past 3 years of marriage, under the pretense of household expenses, investment management, and company cash flow, you transferred a total of $87 million from me, cash, stocks, advance payments for real estate. Here's the ledger. Daniel's face turned pale. You're lying. Every transaction bears your signature or email confirmation. I flipped through the pages. You used this money to buy Lily a downtown apartment, 3 sports cars, and that diamond necklace she's wearing. Oh, and the receipts are still with me. You filed them as client gifts. Lily instinctively covered her necklace. Daniel stood up abruptly. Evelyn, think carefully. The company is my lifeline. I closed the folder and looked up at him. Perfect, I said softly. I love choking lifelines. Silence fell over the living room for 3 seconds. Then Daniel exploded. You schemed against me? 3 years. You played the innocent little rabbit for 3 years. He grabbed the ashtray on the coffee table. I dodged, and the crystal smashed against the framed wall art, shards scattering everywhere. Lily screamed and recoiled. Security! Daniel shouted toward the door. No one came in. He pulled out his phone, dialed. The call rang a few times, then was disconnected. He tried again. It was off. I slowly stood, smoothing my skirt. This beige cashmere dress was a birthday gift from him last year, tagged at 68,000 yuan. He said, "It suits your gentle temperament. Starting today, you're no longer my wife." Daniel panted. "Get out. Leave with nothing." I walked to the entryway and pulled out a coat, not one he had ever bought. An old piece I had brought myself. "Oh, by the way," I said over my shoulder, "that divorce agreement you tore, it doesn't matter if you sign it or not." He glared at me. "Because the 3-year marital asset probation period ends today." I opened the door, letting in the night air. "According to the supplementary agreement you personally signed when we married, if before today you unilaterally proposed separation, adultery, or transferred marital assets exceeding 50 million, I have the right to unilaterally dissolve the marriage and claim 70% of your assets." Daniel looked like he'd been struck by lightning. When did you? The day you proposed." I smiled. "You said, 'Everything I have is yours,' and I made you sign a document. You were drunk. Maybe you forgot." I walked out, the door closing behind me. Through the thick solid wood, I heard the shattering of glass and Lily's cries. Old Chin, the driver, was waiting outside. Not our usual Mercedes, just an ordinary black sedan. "Miss." He got out and opened the door for me, addressing me differently now. I slid into the car, and my phone started vibrating. Daniel sent a string of voice messages, which I converted to text. "Come back. Let's talk properly. I can give up Lily's baby. The company can't be disrupted now. How much do you want? Just say it. The last one, who are you really?" I didn't reply. As the car drove out of the villa compound, I sent a message to my lawyer, activate Plan B. 3 minutes later, all of Daniel's social media accounts were forcibly logged out. An internal company notification popped up, financial audit, effective immediately. All large expenditures frozen. His call came in. I answered without saying a word. "Evelyn, no. Evelyn. We've been married for 3 years, his voice trembled. Give me a chance." I stared at the streetlights flashing past the window. 80 million, he said. "I'll give you 80 million in cash if you withdraw everything. I'll cut things off with Lily immediately. The cash you can actually access right now is less than 2 million. I said. "The rest is tied up in revolving loans. Right?" His breathing stopped. "How do you know? Every loan you took had my father as guarantor." I said softly. "And now, the guarantees are withdrawn." There was a sound of things collapsing on the other end. Lily's scream came through faintly. "Daniel, my card isn't working. The hospital says the account's frozen." I hung up and powered off my phone. The car headed toward the airport. On board, a flight attendant handed me a glass of champagne. "Miss Smith, welcome home." I took the glass, gazing at the dark clouds outside. 3 years. It was time to go home. Daniel searched for me for 3 days. He called the police. The surveillance showed me entering the International Departures Hall, then camera malfunction, and I vanished. He called all my friends. No one answered. He rifled through my apartment, only to find that aside from the luxury items he had bought, all my personal belongings were gone. Over the past 6 months, every shopping trip had been me erasing my tracks. On the 4th day, the bank came knocking. "Mr. D, you have 3 loans due tomorrow, totaling 42 million. Please deposit funds into the repayment account today." Daniel called the finance department, moved the company's liquid assets. The CFO stammered, "Boss, yesterday, the headquarters audit team suddenly arrived. They claimed there were issues with last year's merger accounts and placed all accounts under supervision." "What headquarters? We're an independent company. But 51% of our shares are under an overseas trust." Just now the trust sent a notice claiming their shareholder rights. Daniel slammed the phone down. Lily, with her non-existent belly, wailed, "My parents asked when we'll have the wedding. You said we'd divorce and marry me this month." "Shut up," he shouted. The phone rang again, this time from a longtime client. "Daniel, that 50 million contract, our legal department says there's an issue. Better delay." "Oh, By the way, I heard you offended the Smith family? Be careful. That family. The call was cut off. The Smith family. Daniel slumped in his chair, fragments of realization flashing through his mind. Before the wedding, I once mentioned my mother's maiden name was Smith. He said, never heard of it. Later he looked it up. Yes, there is a Smith family in U.S. finance. But at that level, how could it possibly be connected to me? He opened his computer and searched Smith family heirs. A news article popped up. The photo from the family annual gathering showed a middle-aged couple in the center, flanked by young adults. The photo wasn't high-res, but when he zoomed in on the lower right corner, the figure in the pale blue dress, the coffee cup in his hand, fell to the floor. Even from the side, even with a different hairstyle, that profile, that curve of the neck. It was Evelyn, the wife he had married for 3 years. Gentle, quiet, supposedly with no family left. The door burst open. The secretary panicked. Boss, the IRS is here. They received a real name report and want to audit our taxes for the past 5 years. Daniel grabbed his car keys and rushed out. He had to go to New York. Now. Immediately. Long Island, New York. The family estate. Mother set down her teacup and looked at me across the table. Had enough fun? Father flipped through financial statements without looking up. 3-year evaluation period. He failed all 5 metrics. Especially loyalty, 0 points. I sat quietly, in front of them. I reverted to that little girl who had to sit straight, hands on her knees. What do you want to do? Mother asked. Follow the agreement. I said. Collect what's owed. Cut clean what needs cutting. Father finally looked up. A faint trace of approval in his eyes. No mercy. Good. But why wait until the very last day of the 3-year period to act? To let him make every possible mistake? I said. Infidelity. Asset transfers. Plotting to leave me with nothing. Even trying to split shares with an illegitimate child. He trampled every clause. Now, upon divorce, legally, morally, publicly, he gains nothing. Mother nodded slightly. And the girl claiming pregnancy? What will you do? The child isn't his. I said calmly. I checked. While Daniel was on business trips, Lily was involved with 3 other men. The pregnancy report was faked through a doctor. Though she is actually pregnant, just uncertain whose it is. She wanted to pin it on Daniel quickly. Father frowned. Despicable. Yes. I agreed. Which makes it easier to deal with. The butler knocked and entered. Miss, your trust accounts are fully active. Also, the returns on your anonymous investments over the past 3 years have been compiled. Average annual yield 31.2%. The tablet he handed me displayed numbers stretching endlessly. This was money I invested myself, before marriage. My father gave me $50 million as a coming-of-age gift. His only condition at my wedding, Daniel must not know about it, and I had to double it within 3 years. I tripled it. There's one more thing, the butler said. 70% of Mr. D's company cash flow comes from 3 partners within our network. Just now, all 3 sent letters demanding renegotiation of payment terms. Father looked at me. Did you take action? Not yet. I said. This is a market reaction. They saw Daniel lose his connection to the Smith family and naturally want to avoid risk. Mother finally smiled slightly. You've learned to leverage influence instead of brute force. That's great progress. I lowered my eyes. Thank you, Mom. My phone vibrated, an unknown number. I answered. Evelyn. Daniel's voice was hoarse, as if he hadn't slept in days. I'm in New York. At your estate. The guards won't let me in. Just meet me, once. I looked out the window. At the far end of the lawn, beyond the iron gate, a taxi was waiting. We have nothing to discuss. I said. I need to speak in person. About Lily's child. The child isn't yours. I interrupted. The dates on the prenatal test don't match. I guess you noticed. Do you want me to send you info on the other 3 potential fathers? Only heavy breathing came from the other end. After a long pause, he choked out. You knew all along. You've been watching me make a fool of myself. No. I corrected. I was just waiting for you to reach your own dead end. I admit my mistake now. He nearly shouted. I was out of my mind. Evelyn, give me one more chance. I'll make Lily abort. I'll kick her out. Daniel, I said softly. He stopped. Do you know what I hate most about you? Not your affair. Not your scheming with money, I said slowly, deliberately. It's that from beginning to end. You assumed I would forgive you. Because you thought I couldn't live without you. Because you truly believed I was just a lucky woman marrying into wealth. I hung up and blocked his number. The butler quietly asked, Miss, should I have security remove him? No. I walked toward the staircase. Let him wait. By the way, bring me the guest list for my return gala. I want to see it. Yes. By the way, is Mr. D on the guest list? I stopped mid-stare, turned. Of course not. He doesn't even have the right to receive an invitation. Lily posted maternity photos on social media. 9 pictures. Meticulously edited. She wore a silk nightgown by the bed, hand on her subtly rounded belly. Captioned, looking forward to our love's little miracle through storm or sunshine. As long as you're here at Daniel, the comment section erupted. Some cursed. Die. Mistress. But more were trolls stirring the pot. True love knows no order. The original wife can't have children and won't step aside. Selfish, she's gorgeous. Support her courage to chase love. Daniel even liked the post. He also commented, I'll take responsibility. I saw the comment while trying on the dress for the return gala. The designer knelt on the floor adjusting the hem. The assistant held up an iPad showing fabric options. Miss, should we address this? The PR consultant asked. Negative sentiment like this could be suppressed in half an hour. No. I chose champagne silk. Let him play his part. But he liked it because he thinks the child is his and wants to use it to pressure me. I spun to face the mirror. Once he realizes the child isn't his, that's when it gets interesting. My phone rang again, this time. Daniel's mother. I hesitated 2 seconds, then answered. Evelyn, the old lady's voice was sweet. Daniel knows he was wrong. Just forgive him this once. Won't you? Men, they can't all stay faithful. And as for the child, we tested it, it's Daniel's. Would you really deny the child a father? Tested? I asked. When? Jay, just last week. The DNA report is out. Send me the report number. She stammered. That's private, then it doesn't exist. I smiled. Mom, if you really want a grandson, I suggest you take Lily to a proper clinic for a second test. And watch the blood dry yourself, don't let the sample get swapped. The phone was snatched away. Daniel's voice came through. Do you have to be so heartless? Did you sign the divorce agreement I sent? I asked. I won't. Never. Then wait for the court summons. I added. Oh, by the way, your company's pledged shares contract, final repayment is tomorrow at noon. Now, let's see. I glanced at my watch. 16 hours left. He panicked. How do you know about the pledge? Because the pledgee is my father. I said calmly. You pledged 15% of the company to borrow $30 million to buy that yacht for Lily. Remember? That was an investment. The loan states personal consumption borrowing. I corrected. Tomorrow at 12:01 p.m. If the money isn't in, that 15% goes to the creditor. Combined with what I already hold, guess who the largest shareholder will be? He went completely mad. Evelyn, you're trying to kill me. I didn't start this game. I said softly. You did. I just play better. I hung up and turned off my phone. The designer cautiously asked, Miss, lower the neckline a bit? No. I smoothed the hem. Tonight, I don't need anything to attract attention. Because all eyes are already on you. On the night of the return gala, half the street in front of the estate was lined with luxury cars. The media's flashes never stopped. Every car arrival caused a stir. Politicians, tycoons. Impossible to get a shot with them under normal circumstances. I stood on the second-floor terrace, looking down at the dazzling lights below. My mother walked over and handed me a glass of juice. Nervous? A little. I admitted. I haven't been to an event like this in 3 years. You're doing very well, she said. Rare praise. You've been wrong these past 3 years. But you need to understand, family heirs must go through a marriage evaluation. We need to see how much of a person's true nature is revealed in the most intimate relationship. I understand, I said, and I'm actually grateful for these 3 years. She raised an eyebrow. If I hadn't married him, I'd never have known how vile people can be. I took a sip of juice, and I'd never have known how ruthless I can be. The butler hurried upstairs. Mr. D and Miss Lily are at the entrance. They insist on seeing you. Security is holding them back, but they're causing a scene. My mother frowned. Should we have them removed? I set my glass down. No. Let them in. Evelyn? She looked confused. All the guests are here. I smiled. A good show needs an audience. Besides, how can I play the final act if the leads don't show up? 5 minutes later, Daniel and Lily were escorted into the main hall. Lily wore an over-the-top sequined gown, her belly visibly padded to look pregnant. She clung to Daniel's arm, her eyes greedily sweeping over the room, the paintings on the walls, the antiques on the tables, the jewelry on the guests' wrists. Daniel's face, however, was ashen, because he realized something terrifying. No one was looking at him. The business partners who used to flatter him, the bank presidents, even political figures he could never get close to, now all clustered around my parents, chatting and laughing. Daniel stood there like a ghost. Then he saw me. I descended the staircase slowly. My champagne-colored gown trailed across the red carpet. My hair was loosely pinned up, and around my neck was only a delicate diamond necklace, my grandmother's gift for my 18th birthday, valued at $8 million. The entire hall fell silent. Every gaze locked onto me. Daniel shoved past security and rushed toward me. Evelyn, have you had enough of this game? Lily followed, crying. Sister, please, let us be together. The baby can't grow up without a father. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Camera shutters fired non-stop. I stopped on the last step, looking down at them. Let you be together? I repeated, smiling. Sure. Daniel's eyes lit up. I turned to the butler. Bring it in. 2 attendants wheeled forward a mobile screen. Another handed me a wireless microphone. I took it, my voice echoing through the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies for taking up your time, but since we have 2 uninvited guests tonight, you might be curious about their story. The screen lit up. First image, Daniel and Lily kissing in a hotel lobby. Date, our first wedding anniversary. Second, a bank transfer signed by Daniel, $5 million. Note, baby nutrition expenses. Third, intimate photos of Lily with multiple men. Timelines overlapping. Fourth, the original fake pregnancy report, along with chat logs with the doctor, as long as it looks real. Money's not an issue. Fifth. Sixth. More. Lily screamed. Fake. They're all photoshopped. Daniel stared at the final image, stock ownership structure. His company's largest shareholder was now listed as Evelyn Smith, holding 67%. That's impossible, he whispered. I turned off the mic and spoke softly, so only he could hear. It's very possible, because from the very beginning, you were on my chessboard, and today, the game is over. Daniel looked like a cornered animal, eyes bloodshot. You plotted against me, his voice shook. 3 years. You pretended to be weak, obedient, just for today. Lily completely lost control, throwing herself at the screen. Turn it off! Turn it off! My baby is real. It's real. Someone in the crowd scoffed. A middle-aged man in a navy suit stepped forward, the top obstetric specialist in the U.S., and an honored guest tonight. Miss, he said calmly. Based on the ultrasound images shown, the gestational age is clearly miscalculated, and if I'm not mistaken, you've undergone at least 2 liposuction procedures in the past 3 months, something that is absolutely incompatible with pregnancy. Lily froze. He continued, Of course, if you insist, we can arrange an examination on site. The estate has basic medical facilities. No need. Lily stumbled back, hitting a table. A tower of wine glasses crashed to the floor. Amid the sound of shattering crystal, Daniel suddenly grabbed my wrist. Hard. His nails dug into my skin. What do you want before you'll let me go? He growled. Take the company. Take the money. I'll give you everything. Isn't that enough? Security moved forward, but I raised a hand to stop them. Daniel. I looked him straight in the eye. You still don't understand. I never wanted your things. What I wanted was for you to have nothing. His pupils shrank. I pulled my hand free, took a damp towel from a tray, and slowly wiped the wrist he had touched. And one more thing, about the baby. I looked at Lily. You are pregnant. But would you like me to tell you whose DNA the child actually matches? Lily's face turned paper white. I gestured, and my assistant handed me a folder. These are the 3 potential fathers. I flipped it open. Mr. Married. Finance industry. Afraid of scandal. Willing to pay $5 million for silence. Mr. B. Single. A minor actor. Hoping to use the child for publicity. Mr. C. I paused and looked at Daniel. Is your most trusted vice president. Chen Hao. The hall went dead silent. Daniel staggered as if struck by a hammer. No, impossible, they were involved earlier than she ever was with you. I closed the folder. Do you want me to play the hotel surveillance footage? The week you were on a business trip to Paris. Chen Hao worked overtime 4 nights in a row, and every night, he went to Lily's apartment, the one you bought for her. In the crowd, a man in a gray suit tried to slip away but was stopped by security. It was Chen Hao. Daniel looked at him, then at Lily, then at the pregnant belly propped up with padding, and suddenly, he laughed. A cruel, manic laugh. Ha, ha. Evelyn, you win. Tears streamed down his face as he laughed. You've been playing me for 3 years. I admit defeat. He wiped his face, his expression suddenly turning fierce. But I'm telling you, even if I die, I will never sign that divorce agreement. You'll be my legal wife forever. Don't even think about marrying someone else. I watched his performance quietly. When he finished shouting, I spoke softly. Who said I needed your signature? The butler stepped forward and handed me a folder. I flipped to the last page and held it up. Under New York state law, when one party commits a major fault and the marriage is proven to be irretrievably broken, the other party can apply for a unilateral divorce judgment. I pointed to the signature line. Yesterday afternoon, the judgment was issued. Our marriage legally ended 3 hours ago. Daniel snatched the folder, flipping through it frantically. Court seal, judge's signature, effective date. Every page was glaringly real. This can't be. I didn't receive any notice. You did. I said. You just happened to be choosing engagement rings with Lily and shredded the court delivery. He remembered something and slumped, completely defeated. I walked to the main stage and picked up the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize again for the personal disruption at tonight's dinner. I smiled. As a token of apology, my father has decided that all guests tonight will receive lifetime platinum membership to the Smith family's hotel chain. Applause erupted. Amid the cheers, I looked down at Daniel, who was utterly broken. I mouthed to him silently, the game has only just begun. Every shred of paper you tore, I will make you swallow back, one by one. The next day, the headlines across America's financial and entertainment pages were the same story. #fake pregnancy backfires. #Smith family heir secretly married for 3 years. #shocking scandal. CEO's VP slept with Mistress. Daniel's company stock plunged 40% at open, triggering a trading halt. Banks bombarded his phone with loan calls. Partners sent mass termination letters. Lily disappeared after the gala. She ran off with the $5 million check I had given her. Of course, it was a dud check. But she didn't know. By noon, Daniel stormed into the estate. He knelt outside my father's study for 2 full hours. Dad, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Let me see Evelyn just once. I'll kowtow to her if I have to. Father had the butler relay. Mr. Smith says he does not know you. Please leave. I'm his son-in-law. Once, the butler corrected. And the Smith family does not recognize a marriage that failed the evaluation. You were never entered into the family register. Daniel completely lost it. He pulled out his phone and sent me one last text. If I die, will you regret it? I replied immediately, no. But I'll send a wreath to your funeral. On it, congratulations on your liberation. He never replied again. 3 days later, the police came. Daniel had attempted to embezzle the company's last emergency funds, and the CFO reported him. The evidence was irrefutable. He was taken away on the spot for occupational embezzlement. I attended the trial, sitting in the back row of the gallery, sunglasses on. When Daniel was brought in, he saw me. His eyes lit up for a moment, then dimmed. As the judge read the indictment, he kept his head down, until the prosecutor mentioned, during the marriage, the defendant subjected his wife to long-term psychological control and financial exploitation. He suddenly erupted, she tricked me. She's the real fraud, pretending to be poor and pitiful. Her family is 10,000 times wealthier than mine. Bailiffs restrained him. The judge slammed the gavel. Order. Daniel panted, staring at me. Evelyn, say something. Tell them. Have I not treated you well these 3 years? I bought you bags, cars, took you abroad. I slowly removed my sunglasses. I stood. All eyes turned to me. The bags you bought me? Charged to my secondary card. I said calmly. The cars were in your name. The trips abroad, you always had something come up and I went alone. Later I found out. All that time you were with Lily. The prosecutor presented evidence, credit card statements, vehicle registrations, flight info, hotel surveillance screenshots. Daniel was speechless. The judge pronounced the verdict: 8 years in prison for embezzlement, forgery, tax fraud, and 4 other charges. As bailiffs led him away, he looked back. Evelyn. I met his gaze. If I had known from the start that you were a Smith, his voice choked, I would have treated you well. I would have loved you, really loved you. I was silent for a few seconds. Then I said, you would have just acted more convincingly, but your essence wouldn't have changed. Because the one you loved was never me, it was money. And coincidentally, the one thing I never lack is money. He was led away. I walked out of the courthouse. Sunlight blinding. My assistant held an umbrella. Miss. Back to the estate? No. I got into the car. To the office. 3 deals this afternoon. As the car left the courthouse, I noticed someone in the corner. It was Lily. She was truly pregnant, her belly obvious. Clothes wrinkled. Rummaging through a trash bin for food. Our car passed her. She looked up, meeting my gaze. Those once triumphant eyes now held only despair and pleading. I didn't stop. The window closed slowly, cutting out all noise. Miss, shall I deal with her? My assistant asked. No. I opened my folder. She already dealt with herself. After Daniel went to prison, the real reckoning began. I launched bankruptcy restructuring for his company as the majority shareholder, essentially stripping away any valuable operations and folding them into the Smith family's holdings. The empty shells were left for the creditors to fight over. All his properties, cars, and yachts were auctioned off. Even the house his mother lived in was seized. That house had originally been purchased using my trust fund, and the title was in my name. The old lady called, crying and begging. I said, I can cover rent, but no more than $3,000 a month. That's the last act of mercy I can give. She called me cruel. I replied, which is crueler, your son marrying me under false pretenses for 3 years, transferring assets, and trying to claim power with an illegitimate child, or me setting limits? She went silent. A month later, I officially took over the family's business in Asia. My office was on the top floor of the New York headquarters building. Floor-to-ceiling windows offering a full view of Manhattan. My secretary knocked and entered. Miss. Mr. Lucas has an appointment at 3 o'clock regarding the European MA project. I glanced at my schedule. Send him in. The door opened. The man who entered was in his early 30s, wearing a dark gray suit, tall with long legs, blonde hair, blue eyes, a typical European aristocrat look. Evelyn. He smiled, speaking flawless Mandarin. Long time no see. I stood and shook his hand. Lucas. What brings you here? To congratulate you on regaining your freedom. He winked. And, of course, to discuss business. We talked about business for half an hour. Then he suddenly asked, so, all the divorce proceedings are officially complete? Received the final judgment just last week. He leaned slightly forward, eyes earnest. Then, may I pursue you now? I smiled. Lucas. We've known each other for 15 years. That's why I waited so long. He said softly. At your 18th birthday party, you were crying in the garden in that blue dress, refusing to marry the man your father chose. Even then I thought, this girl should be free to choose her own life. I froze for a moment. Of course, you don't have to answer immediately. He continued lightly. I just want you to know the option exists, and it will remain open indefinitely. He stood to leave. And at the door he turned back. Oh, by the way, your ex-husband requested visitation 3 times in prison, hoping to see you. The prison asked for your opinion, so I had my lawyer respond on your behalf. Thank you. I said, you're welcome. He smiled. After all, when it comes to taking life by the throat, I'm quite experienced. The door closed. I walked to the window, overlooking the city. 3 years of marriage had been a long nightmare. But the dream was over. The dawn had come, and my world was only just beginning to unfold. My phone buzzed. A message from my father, dinner at home tonight. Remember to come. Your mother is cooking herself. I replied, okay. Then I thought for a moment and sent Lucas a message, if you're free this weekend, let's have dinner. No business talk. He responded instantly, my honor. I set the phone down and looked at my reflection in the glass. The obedient, patient, always downcast Evelyn had died in that villa. Standing here now was the sole heir of the Smith family, the one in power, the rule maker. Outside, the sun was setting, and the city gradually lit up. Every light told a story, and finally, my story had turned the ugliest page. 6 months later, Daniel wrote me a letter from prison. The handwriting was sloppy, tears smudging the paper. Evelyn, I have advanced stomach cancer. Prison doctors say at most 3 months. I know I have no right to ask, but my mother has Alzheimer's and no one to care for her. Could you help her find a nursing home? Deduct the cost from my estate. I had my assistant investigate. It was true. After being kicked out, his mother rented a basement and constantly talked about her son. Eventually, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. When neighbors discovered her, she was eating raw meat from the fridge. Daniel had indeed started vomiting blood in prison. A biopsy confirmed late-stage stomach cancer. I replied with a single line, I will arrange for your mother, not for you, but for my own conscience. I found a suitable nursing home for her, paying $5,000 a month from my personal account, enough for a comfortable old age. As for Daniel's estate, it no longer existed. He owed the bank over $20 million. That afternoon, Lucas asked me for a walk in Central Park. Late autumn, the leaves golden. Softened your heart? He asked. No, I said, crunching leaves underfoot. Just realized hating someone is exhausting. He's dying, and I'm too lazy to keep hating. So you forgave him? No, I stopped. Not hating and forgiving are two different things. He looked at me and suddenly smiled. What are you smiling at? Seeing you finally like yourself, he said. 3 years ago, at your wedding, I saw you on the stage. You were smiling, but your eyes were empty. I thought then, this girl has lost herself. I looked down at my own shadow. Found yourself now? I asked. Yes, he said earnestly, and brighter than before. We continued walking. Near the park exit, he said, Evelyn, there's something I want to tell you. 1 week before your wedding 3 years ago, I met with Daniel. I froze. I told him you were from the Smith family and that if he mistreated you, I would make his life hell. Lucas said calmly. He swore he'd love you forever. My throat tightened. And then? Then he turned to research the Smith family's assets. Lucas sneered. He thought he'd climbed to a high branch. Unaware it was a trap I set. The greed he showed exposed him completely. And your father wanted a thorough character test. Wind swirled the fallen leaves around our feet. So, my voice was hoarse. You knew the outcome all along? I knew he would fail the test. He turned to face me. But I didn't know you'd get hurt. Those 3 years. Every time I saw media photos of you two happy, I wanted to rush in and take you away. But I couldn't. It was your evaluation. You had to complete it yourself. He lifted his hand and gently brushed the fallen leaves off my shoulder. Evelyn, my only regret is not telling you how I felt sooner. If I had said it before your wedding, maybe. No. I interrupted. Back then, I wasn't worthy of you. He frowned. Don't say that. It's true. I smiled. 3 years ago, I was weak, obedient, living under other people's expectations. Even if you had confessed, I wouldn't have dared to accept it. And now? Now, I looked up at him. Now I want to first learn how to stand on my own. Once I'm truly steady, then I'll consider standing beside someone. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, he said. I'll wait for you. For how long? Until the day you say, yes. He smiled. Anyway, I have a lifetime to wait. My phone rang. It was my secretary. Miss, the final agreements for the MA deal are ready. Your signature is needed. I'll be right there. I hung up and said to Lucas, I have to get back to the office. I'll walk you. No need. The driver's waiting. I took a couple steps, then turned back. The weekend dinner, are we still on? His eyes lit up. Of course. This time, it's my treat. I turned and walked toward the car waiting at the curb. Before getting in, I took one last look into the depths of the park. Golden and deep red leaves blanketed the ground like a thick carpet. 3 years ago, I married Daniel in an autumn just like this. Back then, I thought marriage was the destination. Now I know, divorce was the real beginning, and my path had only just started. The car pulled out of the park, merging into the endless flow of New York traffic. My phone rang again, this time. My mother, coming home for dinner tonight? Your father's cooking himself, lobster. Your favorite. I smiled. I'll be there. Outside, the city lights were coming on, each lamp shining brightly, just like me now, finally shining, without needing anyone else's light to illuminate me.